Well, you know what time it is.
Guys, welcome to our Full Throttle After Show. All right, so how our Full Throttle After Shows work, guys, is we cover news topics. We do a recap of the week's project that we did, kind of break down where we're at with it, what might have went wrong, all that fun stuff. I'm going to get into chats here quick, and then we will get going. P. Norton 75, member for 4 months. He asks, how was dinner? Really good. We had salmon. So I like having salmon. It's just we've come across having some bad salmon. So I think I'm going to switch to having cod on Sundays. Maybe cod sandwiches. So I'm going to switch it up and probably do something a little different. But really good. How was yours? While I'm waiting for that, I'm going to check a few things, guys. Streams look really healthy. Good. Good. So yeah, it took me a little bit to set this stream up for you guys. I wanted to get some things handled, and I had to get cleaned up because I'm not going to be able to finish this tonight. So one thing is I will not do projects after the first stream. I'll do a recap, but I won't do projects. P. Norton 75 says, good. Spent most of the afternoon preparing, then cooking kebabs for the fam. Nice. You know, that's something that I should fire up the grill and I should make some kebabs for me and the wife. That would be really good thing. I might have to consider doing that either this week or next, or this weekend or next weekend. Well, this weekend's over, but next weekend or the following weekend. Actually, it might work out because I do think I got a day off of work because of the holiday. So, yeah, I might do that holiday. I'll talk to her about that. Awesome. Okay, guys, so our 7 o'clock streams is about news. We start off with the news. I go through the week's topics. I break down what we're seeing. We talk about the topics. I interact with the chat. You guys can chat in anything pertaining to the topics of the news that we're talking about. Usually, if you have questions about projects, please check out our 3 p.m. stream Central Time. That's when I do a lot of the Q&A, helping you with your project. This one, I try to keep it on topic and keep it about the week's automotive news. I will do a recap, so we usually start off with a recap of what we did just a little bit ago, and just in case people haven't checked it out or seen what we did. So what we did is we've got Crimson Vortex sitting over here. We had a bad crank shaft position sensor, and the reason it went bad is it was leaking oil down through the sensor into the connector. So I had to clean out all that oil, put a new sensor in it, reseal it with oil-resistant silicone in order to fix this issue. I sprayed off the motor, cleaned everything up, and I actually put a bead of silicone right around the oil pan in the front. So if it was leaking from the front of the oil pan and coming down, I sealed that edge with silicone. Again, we used the oil-resistant silicone. When you don't use oil-resistant, what happens is it bypasses the silicone and it just falls off. You need the oil-resistant. Give me ones in the chat if that made sense to you guys as far as what we did on that project. And then I'll go in to the headache and nightmare I have on the exhaust and what I'm going to have to do to get this fixed this week. I would love to show what I have to do on this, but this might require me having to tie up the exhaust, start the vehicle, run the backup on ramps, and I can't do it tonight. The reason we can't start this vehicle right now is because of that silicone. Don't ever start a vehicle if you put fresh silicone in it until that silicone hardens. Super, super important on that. If you skip that process, everything you did was a waste. All right, I'm fighting my stream, guys. All right, hopefully I got it back here now. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on some of my stream stuff here. Apparently tonight my computer wants to have some technical issues, so I will be working on it this week to get this computer straightened out for you guys. All right. Give me ones in the chat if everything is good with the stream. I know I've been fighting a few issues here, guys. Give me ones if everything's good right now. Stream should be doing better. Keep checking on it. Okay, so I lost you guys somewhere in the recap, so I'm going to go ahead and recap this again real quick. So the first thing we did, guys, is we put a crankshaft position sensor in it. This one had oil that ran through the sensor, got into the wiring, and coated the underside of the oil pan. So I sprayed off the oil pan. We put a bead of silicone on the front lip of the oil pan to the block. We sealed up that gap with silicone. We used oil resistant silicone. It has to be oil resistant because if you use anything else, the oil will break down the silicone and it'll just start leaking again. So you have to use oil resistant. We put that on there. We put some oil resistant silicone on our crankshaft position sensor. We put that up in there. We put a little bit around the threads that hold the bolt in. So that way, hopefully we don't have any oil leaking out of this engine now from that sensor. And I knew it was coming from the sensor because the oil wasn't up above the sensor. It was all down below. It was from the sensor and the lip of the oil pan. So that's where we sealed. Give me ones if that all made sense to you guys. Yeah. Yeah, my views fell off after my connection wasn't very good, guys. So, all right. Hopefully we'll get everyone back in here. For now, all right, I'll continue breaking down one from P. Norton. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Norton. All right, so what we did after the sensor is we tried to tackle an exhaust gasket. This exhaust gasket is in between the catalytic converter and the muffler. There is a flange on GM vehicles. That flange has a gasket in it. Oftentimes that gasket burns out and it creates a gap where that exhaust gets through. You hear it as a hiss underneath the vehicle. What happens is you need to take and break that apart, clean up those flanges, and put it back together with a new gasket. But when you put it back together with a new gasket, you have to use the right sealant. So when I get those studs out that I broke off, we're going to use the Ultra Copper high temp silicone. And the reason we use this is it creates a layer of protection between that gasket and the flanges, because it will leave a bead of that silicone inside the pipe. And it's basically that silicone becomes a sacrificial layer to the gasket. So it saves the gasket, but it will use this to protect it. But what happened was we broke the bolts. Now I have to come up with a creative way to get those studs out. The studs are hardened and they're pressed in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the side of that flange and put a cut in it, because there is a socket like so. And I'm going to come in from the side here and I'm going to put in a cut that will hopefully open this up and allow me to pound that stud out. That is basically pressed in. Give me ones if that makes sense before we get into the news, guys. That's the recap of what we got. So you guys probably won't see me do the relief cut. I'm going to have to get this thing back together. I will do a recap next week. And then it's all going to depend on what comes in. If we get enough stuff coming in, I will be working on this next week. Once I know what comes in, more than likely I'm going to put a poll in for any of my members that you guys will probably get a chance to vote on what the topic is going to be that week. So that's something I really want to work on for the future, is when I have multiple projects, I'm going to let my members vote on the project. Awesome, awesome. Stream's looking good. Cool. All right. So now I feel a little bit more confident to get into the news. Before I do that, give me a second. All right. So let's go ahead and set up for the news, guys. This is the fun part of the day. We get to talk about a lot of different topics. We get to bring up different stuff related to the news. We get to talk about what's going on, good or bad. Fortunately, with all the EV stuff, there's been a lot more bad than good lately. But there's also been some hope. We've seen our government kind of push back on the EV stuff. We've also seen what I think in the near future is going to be a collapse of Tesla. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this now, but it's more or less I'm going to be hitting it again in the future.
Well, I sure hope somebody picks up that phone, because I f***ing called it!
And the reason I say that is because I really do think they're trying to collapse Tesla. I think they're trying to collapse it because he made a mistake when he started backing the Republican Party. And when he did, he didn't realize that 90% of his customer base are more left-leaning people, meaning that he just alienated all of his customers. So he's still taking a $29 billion payout from the business, but the business hasn't paid its bills in a while. That tells me he's in the process of imploding the company. He's pulling out anything that's profitable, and he's going to basically sink the ship. And if that happens, we're going to see a flux in the EV market. And honestly, we already are. And it is very, because the way that it's happening, I've got some big doubts and concerns on the GM front. But let's get into some of the news topics. Let me pull those up, and we can start looking at those. I'm going to move my camera. All right. So I'm not able to read chat while I do this. So I will focus on one topic or a string of topics, and then I will check back in with the chats. So that's how we'll do the news moving forward, guys. So let me pull the news back up. All right, so here they're trying to talk about the new Tesla Model Y versus the 6 Challengers. From here, we can see Volkswagen. We can see what looks to be a Kia. We see the Ford. Gonna guess that there's a Blazer hiding in here somewhere, an EV Blazer. So these are the competitors in the EV market. Honestly, it's a complete waste of time on that. When it comes to EVs, guys, there's way too many flaws. And I'm going to talk about what GM decided to do with one of theirs. And it's all because they're trying to portray EVs as doing higher mileage when they're not. Again, we check Motor Trend, guys. Motor Trend loves their... So we get to see what is being pushed, not necessarily what is actually happening all over the automotive industry. So I use a few different sites to look at the news. We kind of break it down. This is what we do. First topic here is they're talking about the Toyota BZ electric SUV, and that it's going to replace the BZ4X. So they want to claim that it's being cheaper. Guys, anytime they say it's going to be cheaper, you got to ask, why is it going to be cheaper? What are they doing to make it cheaper? Did they make it to where it doesn't have as much range? Did they put cheaper parts in it? The batteries aren't getting any cheaper. The motors aren't getting any cheaper. So how are they making it cheaper? You have to ask that question, because in the long run, you're the one who's going to be eating the repair bills. And that's what you need to look at, is what is it going to cost you to maintain this thing? Initially, EVs might have low cost maintenance. The problem is once they start adding on to maintenance costs, it skyrockets quickly, and it goes way past what a gas engine would cost. The reason for that is because everything on an EV is expensive. Everything. It doesn't matter what it is. Everything on an EV is expensive. The batteries are expensive. The motors are expensive. The labor is expensive. You got to look at all of the factors. And this is why I said for the longest time, EVs were not practical.
Well, I sure hope somebody picks up that phone, because I f***ing called it!
Check chats quick. Norton, GM, I'm not up on the recent GM stuff, but they have something similar to Ford's Blue Cruise. Yes, they do have something similar. GM is in the process of working on their Chevy Bolt. They're working on a bunch of different stuff that's EV related, but it's, to me, if it's EV, it's... So we do got to look at that for the future. I stopped listening to anything GM related when they bought Allison name and slept it like their garbage transmissions. Yeah. Honestly, the Allison name, they just bought it for the name, straight up. Bought it for the name just because they wanted to sell more trucks. They thought they could sell more trucks by putting the name on it. There are 2 years of Allison transmissions you do not want to touch. The first 2 that came out were just trash. I would not own them. And honestly, when you're talking heavy duty truck, the GM transmission really wasn't that good until you got into the higher end, like the 1 tons or even heavier, because they were forced to put heavier gearing in it. But yeah, the 3/4 tons, GM's 3/4 tons were just a really bad idea. Yeah, try replacing one of those batteries. Exactly, P. Norton. Exactly. Honestly, guys, I've pulled up articles. I've done side-by-side comparisons. I've done Kelly Blue Book for you guys. And in all of that, it showed that the values plummet as soon as you hit that mark where there could be a bad battery. Usually happens about that 6 to 8 year mark. The value just drops out of the bottom of all of these EVs. Because in order to replace an EV battery, you're going to spend over $30K. Those are hard numbers that we've looked at, I've pulled up, and I've shown you. Checking stream quick. Keeps bouncing back and forth. I'm going to have to do a reset on all of my stuff, guys. I can't do it tonight because if I do it, it breaks the stream, but I'm going to have to do a full reset on all of my stuff every Sunday morning because the stream just keeps bouncing between good and not good. So I'm not too happy about that. But that's on my end, guys. So let's go ahead and keep clipping onto the news here. Pick the next topic. Some of this, guys, is fluff filler piece. Like I told you, don't always pay attention to the stuff that they're pushing. So here they got one on Jeep. Here they got one on. Wait. Whoa. What the heck is this garbage? So the EPA proposes deregulating greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles. Does it make sense? Guys, all right, let's go back in time a little bit. A few weeks ago, I went hard on a news topic that pertained to why it's important for us to keep gas vehicles. I explained what comes out of gas vehicles and what is bad about them and what isn't. The misconception is that everyone thinks the carbon dioxide is harmful. Wrong.
Bruh.
What's harmful is the carbon monoxide. Different element. Acts way different. The carbon dioxide is used by plants through photosynthesis as food, meaning plants use carbon dioxide and sunlight in a process called photosynthesis that they use to grow. Carbon dioxide's not the problem. The problem is the carbon monoxide. But there's a nice little thing that you guys can put on your car that gets rid of all that. What is that? I'm going to scroll down and I want to see what the chat says. What can we put in there that gets rid of carbon monoxide? Give you guys a chance to type in the chat. What do we put on cars that gets rid of carbon monoxide? Carbon dioxide's not the problem. I already just explained that to you guys. What do we put on cars that gets rid of the carbon monoxide? Give you guys just a little bit here. Check the stream quick while you guys are doing that. Okay, for any of you guys who guessed it, wait, P. Norton P. Norton's tuning in here. The only thing that they put on cars as catalytic correct. Catalytic converters eliminates carbon monoxide, but there's a scale to it. There's a sliding scale of how long those catalytic converters are good. Usually at about the 10-year mark, they start tapering off, meaning that you're good until that 10-year mark, and then every year after that, the catalytic converter slowly ticks down. So you could be at 100% to that 10-year mark, and it might be like 95, 90, 85. A lot of that depends on how you drive the car, how many miles you drive, and how much fuel you consume. Those are all the factors on how long a catalytic converter lasts. P. Norton says, I bought a catalytic converter where there is to burn unused fuel. No, the catalytic converter does not burn unused fuel. The EGR recirculates unburnt fuel, but it does a poor job and it sucks in a bunch of oil at the same time. The catalytic converter is designed for one purpose and one purpose only, to get rid of catalyst. The catalyst is the carbon monoxide. Give me ones if that makes sense. There's a reason it's called catalytic converter, because it's getting rid of the catalyst from a combustion engine, and that catalyst is carbon monoxide. That's why cars that are new enough, this is a 2017, this is a 01. If they got catalytic converters on it and the catalytic converters are not that old and they're the proper size, you can run these in a closed garage for a very long time and not have it do any harm to you. I've done it before, many times. The only time I've had any trouble is when catalytic converters are damaged or have been removed. You need to make sure that they're in good shape. If they're in good shape, we're not doing damage to the environment because we're getting rid of the carbon monoxide that is the problem. Carbon dioxide is not the problem. So the fact that the federal government wants to go back on the greenhouse gas idea proves that they're starting to notice a problem. And what's that problem? The problem is that if we start cutting out a bunch of carbon dioxide, plants are going to have a hard time growing. We're going to notice trees dying, places that grow crops. The crops are not going to have good yields because we're getting rid of their food source. This is the problem when you create a circular system like our forefathers did. They created a perfect circular system where part of it was going to get used up to feed other things. This is why EVs break that system and are actually more harmful, because they put a higher strain on our electrical grid and create more problems. One from P. Norton. Awesome. Just checking some stream health stuff, guys. Need to make sure this thing stays streaming good, so awesome. Okay, so yeah, as we see here, they're trying to claim that health and well-being under the Clean Air Act, basically this was a bill that was passed that puts a bunch of regulations on cars. Some regulations are necessary. I'm not going to say that they're not. I would be lying if I did. Some are necessary. But we have the systems already created to where we don't have these problems. We just need to have good maintenance, and that's the key to this whole thing. They want to say that automakers are still going to have to control their pollutants, but not the carbon dioxide, which is what we just talked about. The methane's one of those funny ones, guys. It really is. And from gas cars, we don't have a huge methane problem. It's not really that big of an issue. The nitrous oxide, again, that's something more towards the performance industry, not necessarily auto manufacturers. Most car companies do not run nitrous oxide. Number one, it's too dangerous. Number two, it damages too much stuff. And you could have everything running perfectly and it'll grenade a motor. So that's more racing orientated. And the hydrofluorocarbons, that's, again, you're getting into, this is a fancy way of saying the carbon monoxide. And when you break it down, these are the things that we need to be able to watch, pay attention to, and see what the federal government does. Now, this might have all been signed underneath the administration through executive order. What does that mean? Well, it means that if it's all done on executive order, it can all be undone with the next administration. Meaning that the next president that comes in could just sign something else and undo everything that was done. Now, if this was part of the big beautiful bill, which I don't think it was, then this could be undone in 4 years. P. Norton says, yeah, the crazy part is where do they think that electric that they are charging their vehicles comes from? Exactly, P. Norton. Here's the problem, is everyone is living in their own little fantasy world and they don't look at how these systems are tied together. They don't look at how it impacts other things. We have to pay attention to those things. If we're using electric for our homes, if we're using electric to charge our cars, if we're using electric to charge our cell phones, what does that do to our economy, and what does that do to us if our infrastructure was ever hit? Meaning like an EMP on our electrical grid. Basically means it shuts us down immediately. And we will have no chance to recover. P. Norton put in here, if it was part of the big beautiful bill, that was not an executive action. That wasn't built past, or that wasn't built past the Congress and can't be undone by executive order. Correct. If I didn't tear apart the big beautiful bill. I should have. I haven't done it. But if you tear it apart and the emissions are already in there, it can't be undone with an executive order. Now, a lot of those have time frames, though. Some of those bills have time frames. So however long the time frame is for the big beautiful bill. That's one thing we would have to see. And yes, the big beautiful bill was passed by Congress, so if it's in there, we have a lot longer time that we can be protected. If not, and it was done through executive order, which I'm not clear if it was. If it was, it can be undone basically at the end of his term by the next president. I'm sure P. Norton will tune in on that and then let me know where we're at on that. But again, I'm not sure if it was in the big beautiful bill or not. It might have only been been done by executive order. And that information I do need to look up for you guys. Yeah, YouTube is not liking my news section today. Doesn't surprise me though. I do kind of go a little hard in this area. But it's fun. This is why I do it for you guys. So, let's go back to the news. Let's see what. gets into more of this. I want to scroll down right here. So, guys, this is where they're pulling this information. Basically, I'll need to keep reading through here, but I have a feeling that when Trump was reelected, he signed an executive order titled Unleashing American Energy. This is where the EPA is getting their fingers snapped and why auto manufacturers are going to be allowed to continue to produce gas cars. I honestly thought that that's what this was. I thought he did it as an executive order. I didn't have the proof, it's right here in the article, that he did it as an executive order early before the big beautiful bill passed because he needed to get the energy sector going. So, unfortunately, I'm going to keep reading here, but I don't know if they redid it in the big beautiful bill to get rid of it. Of course, leftist-leaning states are going to go with more emissions testing because they're going to want to make sure that the catalytic converters are good. Not a surprise. But yeah, I'm not seeing. Okay. All right. So here's some more notes. Check chats quick. That thing was packed with all kinds of stuff, hence the name. Correct. Correct, P. Norton. It was literally just packed full. I mean, they threw everything, including the kitchen sink, into that thing. All right. So in here, they said it should be noted, however, that although the EPA is not attempting to mess with this with its corporate advantage fuel economy CAF standards, a provision in the Big Beautiful Bill Act signed into law July 4th, 2025 reduces the penalty for violating CAF regulations to 0. What does that mean? That means that if you delete your pickup and it's a diesel truck, you can take all of it off and the violation is $0, meaning that you won't get fined for it. You can delete things off vehicles that are harmful to the vehicle that will potentially cause that vehicle to have issues in the future. When it comes to diesel trucks, the DPF systems are trash. In order to make a diesel last longer, you need to delete off the exhaust diesel particulate filter, and you need to get rid of the diesel exhaust fluid. Those are the two things that gotta go if you want to make a diesel last. And this bill allows us to delete those off without paying a penalty. And if shops are willing to take advantage of this right now because it's in the Big Beautiful Bill Act, it's going to go past his presidency, meaning that they're not going to get fined for deleting these trucks. Now, would I ever suggest that people get rid of their catalytic converters? No. No, 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 no. Never the catalytic converter. Get rid of the muffler before you get rid of the catalytic converter. The reason why is the muffler is a restriction. By getting rid of that muffler, you actually increase the exhaust flow, giving you more power. Now again, if you don't tune it, you're not going to optimize that power, but you will gain a little bit. We'll get into the EV mandate part of it here in just a little bit. You want a topic about how the fact that crude oil currently priced at 63 a barrel, but the price at the pump for gas is still $3 a gallon. Yes. So, guys, there is a huge markup in the oil industry. Huge. Okay, hold on. There's a massive markup in the oil industry. That massive markup is lining the pockets of the people that are running the oil wells, the people that are profiting from the sale of those barrels. When it comes down to producing it, there's also a cost there too. But the only thing is when the oil price gets to be a certain level, making fuel becomes really expensive. This is why we see states like California have very expensive fuel, because they choose to be stubborn and not produce gasoline, meaning that most of their gasoline is trucked in. When it's trucked in, it adds more cost, because they're trying to push to be all EV by 2035, and they are not willing to go back on that, even though the federal government has already gone after them several times for still pushing this. There's a lot of price gouging in the oil industry because there are people who stand to make big money. And honestly, the Saudis made a ton of money off of us already. And the sooner we produce our own gasoline and we use our own oil sources, the sooner we can get off of being self-sustained by a different country. We can't keep doing that. We can't keep giving away our resources at the same time not producing resources at home for our own people. This is a clear line in the sand that we have to draw. And the sooner we do it, the better off we'll be. The last thing to come down, the first thing to go up is gas prices. Correct, P. Norton. Absolutely. It is the very first thing to go up. It is the very last thing to come down. And everything is dependent on it. Our transportation, our goods, shipping, everything. Everything is dependent on oil. That's why when barrels of oil are over $100 a barrel, our economy slows way down. Way down. The reason it happens is because our costs for shipping goods goes way up. We don't produce as much anymore. The reason we don't produce is it's cheaper to make it in other countries because we're shipping it. We're paying the ships to bring it over in container ships. We're paying the trucks to truck it to our stores. That is all oil being used the whole time to get there. You will not see a cargo ship running an electric engine. It will not have enough power. It can't. It cannot produce enough power on its own to do it. So their whole idea of getting off of oil isn't going to work. And EV is not the answer. All right. And that basically breaks down what they basically said in the Big Beautiful Bill is they were taking away the incentives for the EV car companies, such as the tax credits. They were not going to give tax credits to EVs anymore, meaning that they have to compete on the same plane as gas-powered vehicles. Gas-powered vehicles can blow them away every single time because it costs more to make EVs. Because it costs more, it's more cost added in. Let me scroll through here. That was a big one I wanted to talk about tonight, was that one. The fact that the EPA has pulled back all of its regulations on the CAF rules, on greenhouse gases, all of that, that's really kind of making things more on an even playing field when it comes to gas engine versus electric. GM, I am not happy with GM. They are pushing way too much EV stuff right now. When everyone else is going away, this week Ford actually claimed that they were going to start going away from the EV projects. Why are they doing that? Because it makes more sense. It's going to save them money because they're not producing a very expensive vehicle. They're able to sell more because people are willing to buy the gas vehicles. And not only that, but they don't have all the regulations on them because it's already been eliminated. Guys, that was the big one this week, was Ford saying we're going to stick with the gas market, back away from EV. It was GM still pushing EV. And it's the foreign companies just trying to play catch up. Toyota is trying to do a pickup for $30K. And honestly, I think it's going to fall short. I don't think it's going to measure up to what's already currently in the market. So I'm going to flip back over. We're already at the some of the news stories for last week here, guys. We talked about the Corvette concept car that was debuted. We did that last week. So we'll flip over to this one. Usually a lot of these are duplicates, so I don't really dig into these too often. Yeah, Ford playing around with a new concept F-150. F-150. We got Jeep news here. A little bit of racing news from the F1 series. This is pertaining to some of their downforce spoiler stuff. Some of their downforce spoilers, sometimes they allow the manufacturers of the cars to kind of get creative. And when it does, sometimes it creates unfair advantages. So they got to step in and crack the whip and tell them they can't do that. There have been many car manufacturers who have gotten their hands slapped by creating illegal spoilers, doing a bunch of different stuff that hollowed out parts and made things lighter. These are all things that they do in racing. And when they get caught, it's and there's been times that their titles have actually been stripped away because they've done that. Corvette news, guys, we already know they took the ZR1 and the ZR1X to Nürburgring. They set lap records that beat Ford. But, hold on. The reason that they wanted to brag about this is because they took it out there when they first debuted it, and it didn't work. It failed miserably. And because it failed, Ford beat them at the Nürburgring and embarrassed them. So they decided to bring two of their Camaros back after retuning and set the records. The important part here is they set it with the manufacturers, meaning that they let the designers drive the cars. So these cars are capable of way more than that. The problem is I'm not willing to give them the win when they already took the loss. It's looking like about it for the news, guys. Let me get caught up on chats here real quick. P. Norton says, and they offer Blue Cruise and gasoline and diesel. Yeah, Ford is trying to really kind of lean in on the market, guys. And the reason that they're doing that is because they really do need to hit more markets. They need the diesel for the trucks. They need the gas for the average daily drivers. And then they want to do the Blue Cruise for people who are more eco-friendly. That's what it is. They're trying to they're still trying to cater to the environmentalists, but at the same time, they're not going to sell very many of those. They're not. They're just not. It's the same as the EVs. So we will not see too much of a push of those. You know what? Let's do this. I haven't ended the stream yet, so let's go ahead. I haven't done one of these for a little bit for you guys, so here we go. Let's go to Ford's front page. Guys, we've done this before. Let's go to their front page and see what they're pushing. So right off the bat, we have the Mach EV, we have the Ford Super Crew, the Bronco, the Mustang. So here we go, EV, 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 EV. And no EVs. So that's what we're seeing right off the front page. Ford, whoa. Ford is actually doing 000. Guys, Ford has not done that in a very long time. The fact that Ford's doing that means they are hurting after their bomb with the EVs. That their bomb hurt them so bad, they're willing to give vehicles away at cost to sell vehicles. This means they're sitting on way too much inventory. When a company does this, this means they're sitting on too much inventory. All right, so front page, we have the Super Duty and the Mustang, the F-150. These are all #1 sellers for them, guys. Mustang, yeah, these are all top sellers. Is that the Explorer? I think that's the new Explorer. Or no, Expedition. So that's the new Expedition. Got an F-150 here on the front page. Again, they still haven't learned their lesson. They're still playing around with EVs. They claimed they were going to back away from it, and here it is on the front page. It's down farther. It used to be on the top. It used to be all the way at the top. Now it's about 3/4 of the way down the page. The reason that they're pushing it, though, is they're sitting on these trucks, and the tax credit's going to run out. That's why they're doing it. They're trying to push these trucks out into the market before they wind up having to eat them and get rid of them. Again, it's at the bottom of the page, guys. The bottom of Ford's page. How do you guys like that? How do you like that breakdown? Give me a 1, guys, if you love that breakdown of how I just opened up their website, called them out on everything that their marketing is trying to hide. P. Norton says, what I mean was their Blue Cruise wasn't just for EVs. Oh, okay. I'm going to have to look into that Blue Cruise. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about with that. I thought that was part of their EV program, though. So I got to get caught up to speed on some of the Ford stuff. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit behind on some Ford things just because some of the stuff that they've been playing around with it's going to be probably 7 to 10 years before I'm dealing with a bunch of the new stuff from Ford. And if it's EV, I'm not even touching it. I've already made that decision. I'm not working on EVs. Oh, the automatic drive. Yeah, they kind of got slapped a little bit on that, I think. Yeah, okay. I know that there was a news article about the self-driving stuff not being legal because they can't insure it and they can't deem who's going to be responsible in an accident because the self-driving has too many issues with it. If you have one with it, sometimes if you take your vehicle into the dealership, they will turn them off They did that at Tesla. Tesla, they flat out told them, your self-driving feature doesn't work. Shut it down. So when you take your Tesla in to get any work done to it, they automatically turn off the self-driving feature. That's done because it's not safe at all. It can't react like a human can. It cannot anticipate problems. It doesn't look far enough ahead. The sensors are not set in a way that somebody could react. Basically, people can react faster than what the car can because the sensors aren't picking it up in time to do the right things. Plus, the computer will not make a judgment call. Here's the thing. Hold on. Self-driving cars don't anticipate best case scenario where we will. When we're driving a car, there is a high likeliness that if we realize we have one or two options before we get hit, we may choose to take a ditch because we know it'll save our lives. The computer will try to keep that car on the road. And that's the problem with self-driving. I covered a few articles a few weeks ago. I know you weren't here, P. Norton, but I covered a few on those about that topic. And the whole reason I covered those is because I knew that there was a big issue there. Big, big issue. The self-driving feature is severely flawed. Severely flawed. All right, guys. So it's been a really good stream. We covered a lot of news topics. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here. Usually I keep this stream to about an hour. We have reached the 1 hour mark since I got started. So next week, guys, we're going to do, we're either going to be starting on this project or I'm going to pick another one for this one. It all depends on what comes in the mail. Guys, I do need to get this thing ready to sell. I did sell it to a friend of mine already, so this one will be leaving probably November. So a few months away, gives me a chance to go through, get everything perfect for him. So when he takes it, it's just take it, go. And that's what he wants. And he's bought other vehicles from me in the past. This one, he wants something four-wheel drive so he doesn't have to drive his Challenger in the winter. So that's why he's doing it. And honestly, this will be a perfect truck for him. It really will. And it's fully decked out. It's got leather. It's got all the features you could get back in 01. This one has. Plus, I've gone through it top to bottom twice. And this will actually make it the third time. So when he gets it, it's going to be bulletproof for him. It'll keep running. P. Norton says, next time you ought to talk about car companies moving towards paying for features that are already on cars. Good one. Good one. I will do that next week. So I'm going to look into some news topics next week for you guys, and I will talk about the pay subscription, the corporate scams of what's happening. That will be next week at the 7 p.m. time slot. I will go hard on those guys, and I will tear them apart. We're going to go ahead and spend all the money to put everything in it, but then we're not going to let you have it. That's what the subscription is basically is, but we're going to dive deeper into it. We're going to go farther than what I just covered right now. I'll go into it next week at the 7 p.m. time slot. Thank you, P. Norton, for that one. That will be a good topic next week. In fact, I will probably highlight it as the main topic for next week's 7 p.m. show. Checking a few more things out here. Awesome, awesome. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Consider hitting that join and becoming a member. For as little as $3 a month, you can become a member and get early access stuff. You will see when we bring vehicles in, you'll get early access to video topics. If we have more than one video topic, I will put up a poll and let my members vote on that. Right now, P. Norton 75 is one of my members for 4 months. Guys, I want to say thank you for everything. You guys help support us, help keep us going. You guys give us topic ideas. And honestly, we just try to bring good, fun stuff to do, especially on this Sunday when I do projects. So this past week, we worked on Crimson Vortex. Needed some work done on it. It's leaking oil. I got to fix an exhaust gasket this week. I will do a recap for you guys next week on what I did to fix this exhaust. But hopefully we'll get stuff in and we'll have plenty of topics on the new truck that you guys are seeing over my shoulder right now. This black Tahoe, there should be quite a bit coming up for it over here. So as long as we can get all the parts in, we will definitely get all that